There is something I need leaders to hear today, and that is that most people are walking around carrying far more potential than they're even showing. And it's not because they're lazy, it's not because they don't care, but it's because nobody has ever really pulled it out of them. And that's our job as leaders. Nobody believed enough in them, nobody challenged them enough, and nobody slowed down to say, hey, I see something great in you. And maybe that's the greatest responsibility of leadership. Not managing tasks, not hitting numbers, and not surviving all the meetings, but helping people discover the version of themselves they haven't even met yet. Because there is so much promise in our people. And if you're leading others, it's your job to help uncover it. Let's talk about it right now. Welcome to the Leading Life Podcast, the place where leadership meets real life. Here is where we talk about leading with intention, living with clarity, and getting better results for the people we serve every single day. If you're ready to grow, you're in the right place. Right now, on today's episode, the promise in our people. Welcome to the Leading Life Podcast, where we talk about what it takes to grow, lead, and live with purpose. I'm your host, Andy Zook. As always, I promise no fluff, no empty motivation, but just practical tools that you can use in your next decision, your next conversation, and your next move in life. And I could tell you this, the best leaders don't build businesses, they build people. That's what we're really going to talk about today, because here's the truth. Most people are underdeveloped, not underperforming. That's a massive distinction because too many leaders see someone struggling and think, they're okay, or they're just not that great. No, sometimes they've just never had good, solid leadership. Sometimes nobody ever took the time to teach them how to perform. Sometimes they spent years under managers who only corrected mistakes and never cultivated their strengths. People don't rise because of criticism alone. They rise because someone believed they could. And psychology backs this up. There's something called the Pygmalion effect. It's an idea that people often rise or fall to the level of expectation placed upon them. So if a leader expects excellence, development, and greatness, people often perform upward. But if a leader tolerates mediocrity or even expects it, I'm not sure how that's possible, those people will stay right there. People tend to become what leadership repeatedly reflects back to them. That's what matters. Some people have spent years being told what they're not. You have the opportunity to show them what they can become. That's great leadership. That's why you're here listening to this podcast. So stop leading the resume and start leading the person. One of the biggest mistakes leaders make is they lead the current version of someone instead of the future version. They look at the resume, their current skill set, their mistakes, their rough edges, and they make permanent judgments from temporary moments. And that's dangerous. I see leaders do this all the time. But some of the best leaders I ever developed didn't look like future leaders at first. They looked raw and unpolished. Sometimes they were emotional, sometimes unsure, sometimes frustrating. But underneath all of that, they had promise. They had potential, greatness, waiting for structure. Too many leaders want finished products. That's just not going to happen. Real leaders will build them. They don't hire greatness all the time. They develop it. They shape it. They call it forward. And they say, I'm not just looking at who you are today, but I'm looking at who you can become. And that changes people because most people secretly wonder, do I have what it takes? A great leader helps answer that question. Another thing to think about is people borrow belief before they start to build their own. What does that mean? Well, sometimes people need to borrow your belief in them before they really see it in themselves. I know I started that way. Thanks for Randy, my manager back in 1991, who saw things in me I didn't even see. And because of Randy, I became a leader. Confidence starts externally before it becomes internal. Someone believes in you and eventually you start believing it too. Think about your own life. Who gave you a shot? Like the example I gave you with Randy. Who saw something in you before you saw it? Who trusted you with responsibility before you even fully trusted yourself? That matters forever. I have never forgotten the people who have given me opportunities. Matter of fact, the guy that opened the door for the main part of my career, I talked to him every year around the time that he hired me. And after 21 years, he texted me this time and said, hey, I was just thinking about you and how we worked together and I hired you. And that whole moment changed my life. I've also never forgotten the leaders who didn't give me the opportunities. Leadership creates emotional fingerprints. Every leader leaves a wake. People remember how you made them feel, especially when they were trying to become someone. That's why words matter. That's why recognition matters. That's why follow-up matters. That's why coaching matters. Sometimes one conversation changes someone's entire trajectory. Just one. And that could be, hey, I think you're capable of more. Let's talk about that. My point is never underestimate your voice as a leader. You can change somebody's life. The next part I want you to remember is development is not an annual review. And I think a lot of companies, businesses, teams get stuck in this thinking. And this may sting a little. Most leaders do not actually develop people. They perform development theater. They check the HR box. They write a development plan. They have the annual review, and they use words like mentorship and growth and workshops and all this stuff, but there's never follow-up. No intentionality, no accountability, no real investment. That's not leadership. That's paperwork. Development lives in consistency, not forms. It's the 5-minute conversation after the meeting. It's asking, hey, what are you trying to get better at? It's saying, I'm noticing your growth. Wow. It's challenging them when they shrink. It's helping them think bigger. Development is a living, breathing thing. It requires presence. And you cannot force greatness, but you can mentor it. And yes, it takes time, but that's the job. That's what you signed up for. That's why you're the leader. Your legacy will not be the reports you submitted. It will be the people who became better because you led them. I'm going to say that again. Your legacy will not be the reports you submitted. It'll be the people who became better because you led them. The next thing I want you to think about is leadership means lending courage. And what that means is some people are talented, but they're scared. They're scared to speak up at the meeting. They're scared to lead. They're scared to fail. They're scared to be seen. And sometimes leadership means lending courage to them. You tell them, hey, I'm going to have you take this meeting for a couple minutes, or I'm going to have you lead this project, present this idea, apply for this promotion that may be something you've never thought of. I need you to trust yourself. People often need permission to become bigger. It's not because they're weak. It's just human fear. It's inside of all of us. Confidence is built through action, not before it. So people wait to feel ready. Leaders help them move anyway. Listen, the best boss I ever had, and no one's even close, pushed me out of the airplane over and over again. I was scared. Oh my God, what if my parachute doesn't open? What if I don't land? What if I get killed? Obviously, I'm using a metaphor, but she pushed me and pushed me and pushed me, and it led to the greatest moments of my career. I never grew more than when I was under her. The best leaders don't protect people from discomfort. They help them survive it. That's how confidence gets built, not from safety, but from evidence. And then lastly, the thing I want you to know is you realize that this is going to be your greatest compliment. One of the greatest compliments you'll ever receive in your career as a leader is you helped me become who I am. Not, yeah, you were a great boss. Not, oh man, you ran business like strong, and it was well-oiled machine and all that. But you changed my life. That's what you want to hear. That's the real win. That's impact. That's legacy. People forget policies. They remember belief. They remember who fought for them, who defended them in the rooms they weren't in, who challenged them, who gave them the shot, who refused to let them play small. That's real leadership. That's the work. And frankly, that matters more than titles ever will. So here's your leadership edge for this segment. I want you to ask yourself this question. Who around me has more in them than they're currently showing? I don't want you to go to your top performer, not the obvious one, but the quiet one, that overlooked team member, that frustrated one, that inconsistent one. Who has hidden promise that you haven't tapped into yet? And then ask yourself, what have I done to help pull it out? How have I helped them grow? That question will expose your leadership, because leadership is not measured by how well you manage stars. It's measured by how well you create them. And here's your call to action for this episode. Today, I want you to do one thing. Choose one person on your team, just one, and have this conversation. Hey, I see something in you. You're capable of more. And let's talk about what that looks like. That's it. That's all you got to do. No fancy leadership book, no seminar, just a conversation that could change everything. And if you're not leading a team right now, do this for someone anyway. Maybe your child, maybe your spouse, maybe your best friend, maybe your neighbor. People are starving for belief. Be the person who gives it. Be the person who encourages their heart. And then 2 other takeaways I just want you to think about is people need recognition more than leaders realize. Most leaders assume people just know they're appreciated. I'm going to tell you, they don't. Recognition isn't fluff, it's fuel. When people feel seen, valued, and acknowledged for meaningful contributions, their commitment rises. Motivation isn't about pay or promotion, it's about significance. So catch people doing it right. Say it out loud. Specific praise beats generic praise every time. And then celebrate values, not just results. Don't always reward outcomes. Reward the behaviors and values that created them. So if your culture says teamwork matters, like everybody's, celebrate the teamwork. If integrity matters, recognize those moments you saw them work through integrity. If growth matters, highlight effort and learning, not just wins. People repeat what gets recognized. People will work harder for a leader who makes them feel valuable than for one who just merely measures performance. All right, I want to leave you with some reflection questions that will help this process for you in seeing the promise in your people. Number 1, who helped you see your own potential? I want you to start there. Think about somebody who saw that potential in you to help you get to where you are. Number 2, are you developing people or are you managing merely their performance? Number 3, who on your team needs belief more than criticism? 4, are you leading people based on who they are today or who they could become tomorrow? And lastly, 5, what would change if your leadership goal became building people instead of just merely protecting yourself and worried about your own promotion? Look, never forget this. There is so much promise in people. Sometimes they just need someone to uncover it. I want you to be that leader. I want you to be the person who sees greatness early on, something they can't even imagine. Be the person who speaks with courage. Be the person who creates that confidence, because leadership is not about position, it's about possibility. And lastly, I want you to know there's so much promise in you. Yeah, you listening to me right now. This episode is about seeing the promise in others, but once you do that, you're unleashing the true promise of your leadership and your capabilities. I don't care about trophies. I don't care about awards, but what I leave with is that I helped people see their true promise and capabilities, and they could go on and keep continually getting those results and then developing the next set of leaders the right way. We are here to open doors and lead our people better than ever before. All right, so that is my episode for today. And if this gave you practical leadership insight, I want you to share it with someone building a team or growing their influence as a leader. And if it made a great impact on you, I truly appreciate a quick rating and review on whatever platform you listen to me on. And hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up next on the Leading Life Podcast. We don't just talk about leadership here, we live it. I'm Andy Zook. I want you to lead with purpose, live with intention, and keep becoming who you are meant to be. But most importantly, I want you to go out today and be the hero in somebody's story. All right, I will talk to you on the next episode. Have an awesome rest of your day. Bye.